Subject exhibits extreme paranoia, drug-induced psychosis, and owns 31 firearms. Recommendation: classify as potential domestic threat. Begin 24-hour surveillance immediately. FBI Special Agent William Sullivan finished reading File 63-2961, aloud to his team, December 26, 1970. One day after Elvis Presley had left the White House with a federal narcotics badge, the king thought he was now a federal agent. What he didn't know was that the FBI had been watching him for 6 months, had agents in his entourage, and considered him more dangerous than half the people he was reporting as communists. But the most shocking discovery would come in 1978, after Elvis's death, when the FBI found something in Graceland that made them realize Elvis had been running his own counter-surveillance operation. He had FBI files on the FBI agents watching him. The hunter had been hunted, the watcher had been watched, and Elvis knew exactly who was spying on him, because he was spying on them first. Have you ever been so paranoid that your paranoia turned out to be completely justified? That was Elvis Presley in 1970. But to understand how America's most beloved entertainer ended up on the same FBI threat list as Black Panthers and Soviet spies, we need to understand what Elvis was doing that scared the federal government. June 1970. The FBI first noticed something strange. Elvis Presley was writing letters, lots of letters, to President Nixon, to J. Edgar Hoover, to the CIA, to the Pentagon. The letters all had the same theme: communists were infiltrating American entertainment. The Beatles were Soviet agents. Jane Fonda was a Chinese operative. The Black Panthers were training in Cuba. Normal conspiracy theories, except Elvis claimed he had proof. The proof: Elvis had been conducting his own intelligence operation since 1968. He'd hired private investigators to follow celebrities he suspected. He'd planted recording devices in hotel rooms during his Vegas shows, hoping to catch suspicious conversations. He'd created detailed files on over 200 entertainers, complete with photographs, travel records, and communist connection charts that looked like something from a Cold War spy movie. FBI agent Charles Miller was assigned to investigate Elvis's claims. His first report, dated July 15, 1970, was alarming. Subject appears to be running a parallel intelligence operation outside federal oversight. His accumulated weapons cache, including automatic weapons, shows signs of severe paranoid delusions, mixed with surprisingly accurate intelligence about certain individuals. What Miller meant by surprisingly accurate would shock even Hoover. Elvis had somehow obtained Jane Fonda's actual travel records to North Vietnam. He had photographs of Black Panther meetings that the FBI didn't have. He had recordings of John Lennon discussing politics that were better quality than FBI surveillance. Elvis wasn't just paranoid, he was an effective spy. Too effective. August 1970. The FBI made a disturbing discovery. 3 of Elvis's Memphis Mafia members were former military intelligence. Red West had been in naval intelligence. Sonny West had connections to Army CID. Jerry Schilling had worked at the Pentagon. Elvis hadn't randomly assembled an entourage, he'd recruited a private intelligence unit. But why was Elvis doing this? The answer was more disturbing than the FBI expected. Dr. Nick's medical records, subpoenaed by the FBI, revealed Elvis was taking massive doses of amphetamines that caused stimulant psychosis, a condition where users become hypervigilant, paranoid, and obsessed with patterns and connections. But the drugs also gave him superhuman focus and energy. Elvis could stay awake for 72 hours straight, analyzing his intelligence files, connecting dots, building his conspiracy theories. September 1970. Elvis crossed a line that put him directly in FBI crosshairs. He tried to arrest someone. In Vegas, Elvis spotted a man he believed was a communist agent. He pulled his deputy sheriff badge, real given by Palm Springs PD, pointed his .45 at the man, and attempted a citizen's arrest. The man was actually a vacuum cleaner salesman from Iowa. The incident was covered up, but the FBI now had a problem. Elvis thought he was law enforcement. The weapons were the biggest concern. FBI inventory of Graceland, conducted secretly during one of Elvis's tours, found 31 handguns, including automatic weapons, 15 rifles, some with military-grade modification, 8 shotguns, over 50,000 rounds of ammunition, tear gas canisters, police badges from multiple jurisdictions, a fully equipped gun range in the basement. Agent Miller's report: subject has enough firepower to equip a small militia. Combined with his paranoid delusions and drug use, he represents a clear and present danger. October 1970. The FBI infiltrated Elvis's inner circle. Agent Thomas Parker, no relation to Colonel Parker, went undercover as a sound engineer. For 3 months, he lived at Graceland, ate with Elvis, and reported everything back to the FBI. His reports were surreal. 2 a.m. Subject fired 11 rounds into television because Robert Goulet appeared on screen. Claims Goulet is probably communist. 4 a.m. Subject showed me his war room, walls covered with photos, maps, string connecting various celebrities to Moscow and Beijing. Subject has linked Barbara Streisand to Mao Zedong through 6 degrees of separation. 6 a.m. Subject still awake, now convinced the pool man is KGB, has been watching him through binoculars for 2 hours. But then something unexpected happened. Elvis figured out Parker was FBI. November 15, 1970. Elvis confronted Parker privately. "I know who you are, Tom. Or should I say, Special Agent Parker." The agent was stunned. How did Elvis know? Elvis smiled. "You think you're the only one who can run background checks? I've got friends too. Military intelligence friends. They told me the FBI planted you 3 days after you arrived." Then Elvis said something that chilled Parker. "But I let you stay. You know why? Because I wanted you to see what I see. The real threats. The ones your bosses are ignoring." Elvis then showed Parker something that changed everything. A file on Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's own manager. The file contained evidence that the colonel was Andreas Cornelis van Kwijk, an illegal immigrant from Holland who'd possibly murdered someone before fleeing to America. Elvis had documentation the FBI had missed. "My own manager is an illegal alien, possibly a murderer, and you guys are watching ME?" December 21, 1970. The day Elvis met Nixon. The FBI was in panic mode. They knew Elvis was going to ask for a federal badge. They tried to stop it, but Nixon overruled them. Hoover was furious. His memo that day: "The president has just armed a mentally unstable individual with federal credentials. Increase surveillance immediately." But Elvis knew about the increased surveillance. How? He'd bugged the FBI's Memphis field office. This sounds impossible, but Elvis had help. One of his bodyguards, David Stanley, had a brother who worked building maintenance at the federal building. They'd planted listening devices during routine electrical work. For 6 months, Elvis listened to the FBI planning to listen to him. It was surveillance inception. Spies spying on spies, spying on spies. January 1971. The FBI discovered Elvis's counter-surveillance. They were mortified. File Sumter 63-2961 was updated. Subject has compromised federal surveillance, demonstrates capabilities beyond expected civilian resources, possible foreign assistance, recommend elevation to Priority 2 threat status. Priority 2 meant Elvis was now considered as dangerous as organized crime figures. The FBI began finding Elvis's bugs everywhere. In their cars, in their homes, in their Memphis office. Elvis had turned the tables completely. Agent Miller's report: "We've become the subjects of surveillance by our own subject. This is unprecedented in Bureau history." March 1971. The situation escalated. Elvis began filing his own intelligence reports with local police, claiming FBI agents were actually communist double agents. He provided detailed surveillance of the agents surveilling him, including photographs of them at their homes, their children's schools, their weekend activities. The message was clear: you watch me, I watch you harder. The FBI wanted to arrest Elvis but couldn't. He hadn't technically broken any laws. Surveillance isn't illegal if done in public. Filing false reports isn't a crime if you believe they're true. And Elvis's mental state meant he genuinely believed FBI agents were communists. He was untouchable legally, but increasingly dangerous practically. June 1971. Elvis raised the stakes. He started approaching other celebrities with his evidence that the FBI was infiltrated by communists. He showed Frank Sinatra documents. He warned Dean Martin. He told Wayne Newton that his phone was tapped by communist FBI agents. The FBI's nightmare. Elvis was creating a parallel intelligence network among entertainers. But the drugs were making Elvis's paranoia worse. By 1972, Elvis believed his own band members were FBI. He fired 3 musicians after accusing them of being federal plants. He was partially right. One actually was an informant, though not officially FBI. The Memphis police had placed him there to monitor Elvis's drug use. The FBI made a strategic decision: reduce surveillance. Not because Elvis was less dangerous, but because he was too dangerous to watch. Every agent assigned to Elvis eventually got counter-surveilled by Elvis. Several agents requested transfers after Elvis sent them packages containing photos of their families with cryptic notes. "Nice family, would be a shame if they were communists." Have you ever been in a staring contest, where both people refused to blink? That was Elvis versus the FBI. Elvis's behavior became more erratic. He shot out televisions in hotel rooms, claiming they contained FBI cameras. Sometimes he was right. The FBI had placed cameras in 3 hotels Elvis frequented, but Elvis shot out every TV, just to be sure. The Hilton chain banned him after he destroyed 15 televisions in 1 week. The FBI files reveal their frustration. One memo: subject's paranoia has evolved into operational awareness. He assumes surveillance at all times and is usually correct. Traditional surveillance methods are ineffective. Subject has essentially surveillance-proofed his life through constant vigilance and superior resources. Elvis obtained something that terrified the FBI: their psychological profile of him. Someone inside the bureau leaked Elvis's own FBI file to him. Elvis read their assessment: narcissistic personality disorder, paranoid delusions, stimulant psychosis, armed and dangerous. His response: he had t-shirts made with "armed and dangerous" printed on them, wore them to concerts. The FBI was not amused. August 16, 1977. Elvis died. The FBI immediately raided Graceland. What they found in Elvis's war room shocked even seasoned agents. Complete FBI organizational charts with agents' names and addresses, recordings of FBI internal phone calls, classified documents that should never have left federal building, photos of FBI agents' homes, families, and personal vehicles, a file on J. Edgar Hoover himself, including proof of his relationship with Clyde Tolson. But the most stunning discovery was Operation King Watch, Elvis's name for his counter-surveillance of the FBI. He'd documented every moment of FBI surveillance for 7 years: times, dates, agent names, vehicle plates, surveillance techniques. Elvis had created a training manual for avoiding FBI surveillance, hidden in a safety deposit box with instructions to publish if he died suspiciously. The FBI spent 3 days removing materials from Graceland. Officially, they were assisting with estate documentation. Actually, they were covering up the largest civilian intelligence operation in American history. Elvis had outspied the spies. He'd surveilled the surveillance state, and he'd done it all while high on pills and convinced communists were everywhere. Agent Miller's final report on File 63-2961, subject deceased. Recommend immediate classification and sealing of all materials. Subject successfully compromised Bureau operations for 7 years. If public learned of subject's capabilities, it would undermine confidence in federal law enforcement. The king is dead. Long live the secret. The real tragedy. Elvis was occasionally right. His file on Colonel Parker was accurate. The man was an illegal immigrant and possible murderer. Some entertainers he suspected of communist sympathies actually were under Soviet influence, as later revealed by KGB defectors. His paranoia, while drug-fueled and excessive, occasionally stumbled onto real conspiracies. Dr. Nick later said, Elvis's greatest tragedy wasn't that he was paranoid, it's that he was right just often enough to justify his paranoia. Every time he thought someone was watching him, and they were, it reinforced his delusions. The FBI created the monster they were monitoring. The FBI file 63-2961 remains partially classified. 467 pages are available through FOIA requests, but 200 pages remain sealed until 2027, 50 years after Elvis's death. What's in those pages that still can't be revealed? What did Elvis know that still threatens national security? One leaked memo might explain it. Dated August 1, 1977, 2 weeks before Elvis's death. Subject has indicated knowledge of Operation Redacted. This is impossible, as Operation Redacted is above top secret. Investigate how subject obtained this information. If subject goes public with Redacted, initiate Protocol 7. Protocol 7 has never been explained. Elvis died 15 days later. The FBI won't comment on whether Elvis's death ended their surveillance. But neighbors near Graceland report something strange. Every August 16th, anniversary of Elvis's death, unmarked black vehicles park outside the mansion. They stay exactly 47 minutes, the length of time Elvis was pronounced dead, then leave. The FBI says these are routine memorial security patrols. But maybe, just maybe, they're still watching. Because if Elvis taught them anything, it's that even paranoid drug addicts can be right. And sometimes the best spies are the ones everyone thinks are crazy. The king is dead, but the game he played with the FBI might still be going on.